It was a blistering morning in Desert Pines, Arizona, when Jake Larson found his La 4000 drone smashed to bits in his front yard. No note, no apology, just a taunting message scrawled in Sharpie across the cracked casing. So next time, follow the rules. Saw the culprits? A pair of self-styled HOA cops, neighbors dressed in fake uniforms, strutting around with walkie-talkies and a hunger for control. They weren't real law enforcement, just wannabe tyrants hiding behind a gold-embroidered logo. But they had no idea Jake was holding an ace up his sleeve, a drone so powerful it could see through their lies. And when he unleashed it, Desert Pines would never be the same. Jake, 38, was no ordinary guy. A freelance drone photographer with an FAA license, he'd spent 2 tours in Iraq as a surveillance drone operator, mapping battlefields and tracking signals. His home in Desert Pines was one of those cookie-cutter stucco houses, surrounded by manicured lawns and identical mailboxes. The kind of place where the sun scorched the sidewalks by 8 a.m., and a neighborhood newsletter was more a weapon than a greeting. That Monday, Jake was sipping coffee in his gym shorts and a t-shirt that Red Saw drone guy saw when he heard shouting from his driveway. Not the usual neighborly bickering this was aimed at him. 2 men stood over his DJI Matrice 300 RTK, a commercial-grade drone worth more than their beat-up sedan. The tall one, lanky with a buzz cut and sunglasses he never removed, snapped, "Sir, this tech's not approved for residential flight zones. Your VY OLADing HOA airspace rules." The shorter one, heavy-set and wearing gloves despite the 90-degree heat, was already filming on his phone. Jake laughed, thinking it was a prank. HOA airspace? That's not a thing. This drone's federally registered, and this is my property. But Gloves didn't crack a smile. "Power it down and surrender it to the HOA for a hearing," he said, like he was reading from script. No ID, no bylaws, no proof. When Buzzcut reached for the drone, Jake stepped in front of it, his voice low. "Back off. That's mine." The HOA compliance unit wasn't a myth, but it wasn't legit either. A rogue volunteer group within the Desert Pines Homeowners Association. They had uniforms, a Facebook page with 74 followers, and 0 authority. Jake emailed the HOA board, expecting answers. All he got was a vague, "We'll re-VY-EU the situation." No apology, no action. Then, the next day, it got worse. Returning from a real estate shoot, Jake found his Matrice shattered behind the hedges in his yard. Rotors snapped, camera gimbal crushed, body stomped. Tucked inside was that sharpest scrawled note. His hand shook as he held the pieces, rage boiling in his chest. He called the police, laid out every detail, but the officer just shrugged. No witnesses, no footage, no case. Drones aren't covered under vandalism codes. Jake sat in his garage that night, surrounded by broken circuits, and something snapped. He wasn't playing nice anymore. Desert Pines was a place where smiles hid knives. After the drone incident, neighbors stopped while VYing. One woman crossed the street to avoid him, like he was a criminal for daring to fight back. But Jake wasn't just a guy with a hobby. In his garage, locked in a fireproof case, was his secret weapon, a military-grade hexacopter he called Saw Vanguard Saw. Retrofitted for CI/VY Lien use. It was legal, but built like a tank silent for 40 minutes, with thermal imaging, license plate tracking, and a 4K Panoptic camera that didn't just record, it mapped. He'd never flown it over Desert Pines. Until now. Jake started with quiet nighttime flights, scanning rooftops and logging license plates. He caught Gloves dumping trash in an empty lot, Buzzcut bullying an elderly woman over her hedges. He recorded it all, then launched a website, desertwatch.net, password protected and in VYT only. At first, it was just friends and a few curious neighbors. Within a week, 200 members were watching clips, Leah VYing comments, and sending tips. People reported tampered mail, fake HOA warnings, and fear of speaking out. Then came the bombshell, footage of Buzzcut and Gloves in an empty HOA meeting room, laughing about how easy it was to scare these sheep. They didn't know Saw Vanguard Saw was perched outside the window, its lens catching every word. Jake held on to that clip, waiting for the perfect moment. The HOA meeting was Thursday at 6 p.m. in the community clubhouse, a beige brick box with folding chairs and bitter coffee. The usual crowd showed up, a dozen clipboard-wielding homeowners, a secretary who never read her notes, and HOA President Carl Ramsey, a man who lied without blinking. Jake arrived early, dressed in jeans and a plain polo, a flash drive in his pocket, and a manila envelope in hand. The room went silent when he walked in. Buzzcut and gloves sat in the back, arms crossed like hired muscle. Jake ignored them, locking eyes with Ramsey, who flashed a greasy smile. "Jake, didn't expect you after last week's misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding," Jake said, calm but loud enough for everyone to hear. "That was due la 4,000 of FAA-certified equipment." He slapped the envelope on the table. Screenshots, URLs, timestamp stills from SAW Vanguard SAW. One showed Buzzcut screaming at a senior citizen. Another had gloves holding a crowbar over Jake's drone. Then the kicker, their secret meeting. "Before you deny it," Jake said, plugging the flash drive into the projector, "let's watch this." The screen flickered, and there they were, mocking residents, bragging about intimidation. The room was a tomb. An old woman clutched her purse. A man whispered, "Is this real?" When it ended, Ramsey reached for the drive, but Jake snatched it back. "No copies." "Not yet." The fallout was instant. Neighbors who'd ignored Jake now whispered thanks across their lawns. A woman brought him cookies, saying she'd been too scared to fly her own drone. But the fake cops didn't back down. Buzzcutrial named Trevor started tailing Jake in his car, parking outside his house for hours. Notes appeared under Jake's windshield, a dead rat in his trash, a fake HOA letter demanding due lot 700 in surveillance fines. But Jake wasn't alone anymore. Desert Watch grew to 800 members, including Lisa, an ex-cop, a lawyer, and a cybersecurity analyst who traced the fake letter to Ramsey's personal computer. Jake compiled it all into a folder, SAW Operation Vanguard SAW. He skipped the HOA this time, going straight to the county ombudsman's office. With VY Deos, logs, and testimonials, they couldn't ignore him. Jake listed the crimes: impersonation, harassment, property destruction. The agent, Raymond, leaned back after an hour and said, "This is going to blow up." By Monday, subpoenas hit. Trevor deleted his Facebook page, Gloves ditched his phone, and Ramsey called it a misunderstanding. Too late. An emergency HOA meeting drew news crews. Signs reading "Saw no fake cops saw" in a packed room. Jake walked in late, wearing his "Saw drone guy saw" shirt. He didn't need to speak, the community did. Neighbors shared stories of harassment, fines, fear. A lawyer from Desert Watch announced a class action suit. The room roared. That night, Jake flew SAW Vanguard SAW again, not to spy but to celebrate. It hovered above Desert Pines, its red glow lighting the rooftops. Kids pointed, neighbors waved, someone blasted the national anthem. It was a VY Tory parade in the sky. Ramsey resigned days later, hiring a lawyer to claim Jake's footage was fake. A cease and desist demanded he shut down Desert Watch. Jake didn't blink. Desert Watch 2.0 launched, encrypted and hosted offshore, backed by a whistleblower fund. Local news ran a segment. "Saw fake cops in Desert Pines SAW." The state attorney general opened an inquiry. Trevor and Gloves cornered Jake at the grocery store, but SAW Vanguard SAW was watching. Jake uploaded the footage with the caption, "SAW try again." SAW days later, they were arrested: harassment, impersonation, property destruction. Ramsey fled the state. The HOA board collapsed, replaced by state receivers. Residents got apologies and refunds. Peace returned, but not silence. 2 weeks later, the FAA reached out not with a fine, but an offer. They'd seen SAW Vanguard SAW's footage and wanted Jake for a CIVYL, aviation project, urban drone accountability. He said yes. Then he sent the real message, a community drone program, funded by the lawsuit settlement, run by residents. Free workshops, cameras, an ad VY sorry only HOA board, and Jake as director. They thought breaking his drone would break him. Instead, it set him free. The sky was never theirs. It's ours now.